Well, good evening, everybody. Hi, Dan. When we kind of get finished here, and you'll see some of this, how people have impacted your life and how you've been involved with other people. And my story, I guess, it's going to get maybe personal for me, and I'll end up talking about Dan a little bit, but how you see your career and what happens. But first, let me start. People are making a big deal about having 60 people here. We've got 5 siblings and some friends and great Cyclone fans that enjoyed our time together. I would call it my stepmother. Jean Claire is here. She's 92 years old. Every place we went, she'd be congratulating you and saying thanks. And after a while, you figure out who she is. And you're like, you kidding? They're that dedicated? They love the sport that much? They're just following you and following you and following you. You know, it's people like that that just absolutely blow me away and that have been surrounded. I got a high school teammate here. You know, we're throwing a mat out in the machine shed in the grass, you're wrestling from summer freestyle, you know, all those little things. Mentors here from Iowa State, when times were down and you were mentally out of it, you thought, why am I here? What am I doing this for? Well, you actually came here to go to school. Dan and I talked about this a little bit. I thought we went to college just to wrestle. And that all kind of ends that first quarter. You're at college, and you're sitting along the wall, and Harold Nickel comes up, and he starts reading off who's on TE, which means temporary enrollment. And you're like, you better get your grades up, and then you start to panic. Oh my gosh, I don't take care of what I have to, I'm not even going to be here. And I had a good friend in Al Christian who mentored me through that process, and you're thinking, wow, somebody thought you were good enough to come and be accepted, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, this is going to take some hard work, and it's going to take some dedication. And then you start feeling an expectation of, you know, you kind of need to appease yourself and the people that got you here and your family and your friends. And that's the biggest thing. Somebody walked in today and they said they saw a G-Bach, and hey, they're from Fairfield. You know, my sister married in G-Box, and Mike knew her. You know, it's such a small world, and the people I met this weekend, it's just been totally awesome. You know, I never ever thought that I would ever be in this kind of position. The reason I kind of get choked up here is, you know, people are invested in you. You know, and you go to Iowa State or Iowa, wherever all of us have went, and you go there for one reason and one reason only, is to win team championships, be a national champion. That's really why you do it, okay? And you get that education along the way, and you realize, hey, when you get out, that becomes even more important. But just a little story here, and we'll kind of have a little fun, hopefully. When I was in high school, been to a couple camps, Carl Adams, showed me the high crotch move. Man, I thought that is it. And that became my favorite move of all time. The Hawkeyes evidently got drift to me, and they started recruiting me early and asked me to come to some recruiting trips. And sure, I'll come. A football game. Oh yeah, they're playing Ohio State. That'll be awesome. Because really down deep in my heart, I always wanted to go to Iowa State. You're a little kid going to junior high tournaments, wearing an Iowa State singlet, but guess what? I never heard boo from them. Gable over here is talking to me on the phone, recruiting me hard. And I'm down there one day at the Highlander, and Gable calls me in, it's the end of the trip, and he's like, what'd you think? Yeah, it wasn't bad. When are you going to make a decision? And I'm like, I don't know, it's going to be a while, it's kind of tough. And I said to him, I said, well, why you need to know? He goes, well, if I don't get you, I need to get these Bannock brothers out of New Jersey. Never heard of these guys, but when I looked at my mom's scrapbook, when I was in the national freestyle tournament in high school, oh yeah, they were a weight class below, so figure that out 20 years later. And so to make a long story kind of short here, I end up telling Gable no, okay? And there'll be a punchline here that I'll finish a little bit later. That'll make more sense. So I ended up going to Iowa State, had a great mentor, Willie Gadsden. And then when he was finished with me, Charlie, we ended up wrestling in the middle. Ended up being in the Midlands finals 3 times, won it once, both losses to the Gadsden brothers. Okay? And I'm going to jump my story here a little bit, but I ended up leaving college. Things didn't turn out the way I thought they should. And I go to work for a hog farmer. You leave college, no titles, no nothing. You don't even find a wife over there. I walk into this guy named Ed Perry, and I end up working for him. And who's that? Oh, that's my daughter. She's going to UNI. Well, guess what? I asked her out, engaged in 6 months, had the first date, knew I was going to marry her after the first date, and in the first date, we went to the West Gym, to the state freestyle tournament. And to finish the Gadsden story, okay? My daughter has a child, and she names him Gadsden, after Willie, and after Kyvan was the only guy who wanted to do with me 2 years ago. Kyvan, it is so awesome to fulfill a dream I had, to fulfill a dream your dad had, and to be in the legacy of all the great 90-pounders at Iowa State, which I feel I was one of them and I contributed. All I ever tried to do was be aggressive, have fun, and just go all out. I never ever thought, why do we want to go out there, stand around and dance? I was like, let's get it on, let's have a lot of fun, and I always thought I tried to do that. And so with everybody that you're all here, 60 of you, that have been a part of my life, you've helped me in every way, each one of you, specifically at different crossroads. You ready for the punchline, Dan? Thank you over there. Dan doesn't know this. I warned him I was going to surprise. I've never ever really told maybe but a few people. Obviously, the competitiveness between Iowa and Iowa State was very intense. A little history. Iowa State had won the national championship in 1977. They won it a few years before that. In '78, when I was a senior in high school, they lost by 1/4 point. Okay? I was inspired by watching Iowa Public Television and thinking how great that was for them to promote the sport. When I told Gable no, and he said he was going to recruit those guys, something in my head just snapped. I turned around and I walked out and I said to myself, you will never, ever, ever lose to a Hawkeye. I mean, the game was on. I was just, I don't know what it is about me, but people, who knows where it comes from, I was just totally jacked. And it wasn't, but 2 months later, I got to wrestle Bud Palmer in the semifinals of the Midlands tournament. He loses. I wrestle in the next meet, the duel. He cuts to 170 at the same national tournament, freshman in Ames in '79, and he gets DQ'd, didn't he? And Bruce Kinsteff had 5 pins. I don't know if there's ever been anybody that's pinned 5 guys since Bruce Kinsteff. It was just an awesome experience. So to finish the punchline with Mr. Gable here, wow. I watch history as we're competing and trying to bring Iowa State back. And I also told myself, hey, it's good enough for Gable to go to Iowa State, it's good enough for me, because you remember you went there for an education, and I loved agriculture. Okay? Iowa wins in '79, all the way to '96. I'm witnessing a Gable run of 9-0, and I was there from 2 through 6, competing against them, trying to battle them the whole way. Never won a team title, never won an individual title. And I tell him no, and he gets 6 national champions. 5 from Vanix, 1 from Bush. It's just the way it is. We have trouble moving through those things. The 82 match was pretty devastating to me. Took a long time to recover. Kyle Kingman and Wyatt Schultz wrote an article about it in the Predicament magazine. So I'll kind of end with a couple things here. You know, after that, the disappointment and the things that don't ever work out, it kind of gets bleak, but then how you bounce back and recover from that. And I'm like, well, and a lot of you maybe don't know the situation, and I don't get into it, but it was overtime and stalling and a call and judgment call and whatever. And I think, how can I ever use that for positive? And I'll spin off of Rich's deal a little bit. You know, it's kind of like, I remember walking around the circle and thinking, oh my gosh, it's over. I have no choice here. Even though, you know, and these days you can have sudden death. You can go and decide it somehow. It was referee's decision. You know, it was kind of like making a choice in life, either about a spouse or about a relationship with Jesus Christ, okay? You think you got time, hey, there's no time like the present. You know, and I use that, some of those stories and that stuff, as I was working with youth groups to inspire kids and talking about making choices and what we're going to do and how things that don't turn out. You know, just like leaving Iowa State, and you're like, where are you going to meet a wife out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Iowa, and it just leads you right into her house. You know, how awesome is that? Okay? And it's kind of ironic, this whole thing's came full circle for me, because might break up here too, so I just warn you. Friend Dale Wilkerson and I go to the 97 championships in the Unidome. How ironic is it that you guys are here? Because what's going on in my head, no offense Hawkeye fans, you get it, you understand the rivalry. I'm rooting for Oklahoma State. I'm sorry. Big 12, you guys get it. But the story is, I just watched those guys melt, and I watched the Hawkeyes come up. You telling me 5 champs, 6 guys in the finals, half the team, awesome. And I'm just like, finally, like, wow. That is awesome. That is wonderful. I get it now, Gable. That is cool. To finish the story, I lean over, I see Jay Robinson. You know, I believe being on the other side looking in, you surround yourself with great people, and Jay obviously was a great guy, and because he's proved it on his own with other people around him in Minnesota. I reach over the railing as they're getting better. Minnesota, they placed 2nd or 3rd that day. I said, hey Jay, awesome to see you. I haven't seen you like in 20 years. And he grabs my hands and he says, I wish you would have wrestled for me, Mike. I'm just like, are you kidding me? You know, all the battling in my head. And he's like, I wish you would have wrestled for me. I was just taken back. So I am more than humbly, thought I'd never ever have an opportunity to be something like this. I just thank everybody for being here and everybody that has touched my life and been a part of it. It's been awesome. Thank you.